What is going on, everybody? This is Circle to Circle. I'm your host, Stephen Pierce, and boy, is it an exciting time for hockey fans. Now, the preseason is just about to wrap up, and the season is just around the corner. Those New York Rangers that we love so much, they have 2 games left in the preseason, one tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers at 7 p.m., and one against the Boston Bruins on Wednesday. Now, it is going to be some sort of battle for these final positions. They have cut the roster down to 25 players. They have 15 forwards, 8 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. Now, if you want to begin with an easy subject, let's talk about the goalies. Henrik Lundqvist, no doubt about it, the King's in net. He's going to be your starting guy. You also got Antti Ranta backing him up. There's no question about this. I mean, Magnus Hellberg, he put up a little bit of a fight there, but there's no doubt in my mind Antti Ranta wins that job. Obviously, he did because they already made Magnus is going to the AHL affiliate, Hartford Wolfpack. So that's basically the most simple argument that we could have had. Those are your goalies for this season. And we'll see how Antti Ranta fares, barring some injuries. That should look like your number 1 and 2. Now, the real question lays among the forwards. Is there a spot for Tanner Glass on this lineup for the 2015-2016 Rangers? I honestly, I don't know. Because if you look at his play, what he brings, he is a tough guy. And that's about it. He doesn't really bring anything else to the table. And I know the head coach, Alain Vigneault, is in love with Tanner Glass. He loves having him in the lineup for many reasons. I don't know what he's going to plan to do, but I can tell you that he's needed maybe for some games, like the Boston Bruins games last week in the preseason. He steps up. He steps up. Because his team is getting, they're getting hit hard, and that's his purpose there. He steps up. He's the defensive guy. He's gonna stand up for the teammates. He's gonna throw those warnings out there, so none of the players on his team are gonna get hurt. That's really important. But in today's game, there's not a lot of that going on. Obviously, it's preseason. People are trying to throw big hits to make the team, especially in Boston. They have a whole different kind of reconstructed team going on there. But that's not what's important anymore in today's game. Alain Vigneault's playing this system where it's a fast system, and you move the puck from the back end very quickly. You hop in the rush. Tanner Glass can't do that. He doesn't bring that. And obviously, he's a fourth-line guy. Maybe he fits in on the team. Maybe Alain Vigneault, finagles something around, and he's on the team. But that's not what I think should happen. You have 15 very capable forwards that are want to make this lineup. Obviously, you got guys like Rick Nash, Matt Zuccarello, Chris Kreider, all these guys that are seasoned at this point. They're going to make a lineup, but it's guys like even Emerson Edom comes over from Anaheim in a trade for Carl Hagelin. There's some picks involved, but he has looked awful. Oh, just awful in preseason so far. I don't know what's going on, if he's got some jitters going on, or if he just hasn't woken up yet. Maybe he's still got those the rust in his legs there, but he has not been playing well at all. He's supposed to be a fast guy. He's supposed to have a lot of offensive potential. He has not looked good. So there's one guy that I don't know if he's making the team at this point. Now, I want to talk about Victor Stahlberg and Oscar Lindberg because those 2 guys deserve a shot. The way that they played in preseason so far has been very impressive. Especially Victor Stahlberg, because when you look at the moves the Rangers did this offseason, they bring in guys like Jared Stoll, Victor Stahlberg. You got guys like Oscar Lindberg competing for a spot in probably the bottom 6. That, if you don't realize that, they brought in size as well as speed. And what you need now to make the playoffs and to go on a long run, you need size and you need speed to your game. If you look at the Los Angeles Kings, who have won 2 Stanley Cup champions, 2 Stanley Cups, in the past few years, they have such size to their team. They can hit you, they can score, they got everything going on for them. Last year they missed the playoffs, but I'm expecting a big resurgence this year from them as they're more rested. They reshaped their team. They have a big team, and they can shoot, they can skate, they can do everything, and they're backed with good goaltending. That's what the Rangers look like they're trying to do. Now, obviously, you got some guys, shorter guys on the team that are not as big, and that's fine. But when you look at Lindberg and Stahlberg, those guys are big. They have plenty of weight. They have a lot of offensive potential to their game. Lindberg has been making some phenomenal plays. He's got a lot of chances, especially the other night against the Devils. He was basically the one that was fueling the fire to the Rangers offense. He deserves a spot on this team. He's a big guy. He's got great hands. He's phenomenal with the puck. He's very fluid. It's his time now to step up and play. Now, I think he can fit perfectly in the bottom four because he can still throw the body. He's that guy. He's going to be big. He's going to be aggressive. He fits him perfectly. Another guy, Victor Stahlberg. He's a big guy. He's got phenomenal hands. He's very, very quick. He almost looks like Chris Kreider, except Chris Kreider is just one solid muscle. He's a little bigger. But at Stahlberg, he can score. He's big. He's intimidating. And you don't need Glass if you have him and Lindbergh. Glass does not fit on the team anymore because he can't score. You need, when you look at the reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Chicago Blackhawks, they had 4 lines that were threats. There were 4 very, very good lines. The Rangers look for that now. You have guys like Dom Moore, who he's okay. He's gonna win you faceoffs. That's what he's there for, okay? But if you have guys like Lindbergh and Stahlberg playing on his line, there is unlimited potential for that's a 4th line. Think about that. As opposed to Jesper Fast, Glass, and Dom Moore. Put Jesper Fast on the 3rd line. He deserves a chance at this point. He played very well last year. He's defensively reliable now. His offensive game is going to come. That's how the Swedes think. They think defense first, then offense. That's what's going to come. I'm expecting a pretty solid year from Jesper Fast. So when you look at that 4th line, Stahlberg, Dom Moore, and Lindbergh, that's what you want to see in that 4th line. That's going to give you a very, very good 4 lines for the New York Rangers. They can all score, some better than others, obviously, but they're going to be consistent. They're going to be very, very good defensively minded, and they're going to bring so much to this team. Now, that being said, what do you do with Glass? Do you send him down to the AHL? Because he has to clear waivers. The only thing is, he is probably the best bet because no one's going to pick him up, and he's got like $1.5 million on his contract for the next 2 years. No one's going to want to pick up that. It's going to hurt their salary cap, and for a guy like Glass, no one's going to want that. So he is the most viable option to be sent down at this point. You know, he costs a lot for his role as kind of the tough guy, the resident tough guy, and he's not going to give you a lot on the team. So no one's going to pick him up. He seems like the best guy to send down. And I know that sounds a little harsh because he's been with the team. The players revere him. They have a good attitude. But what's most important is, like, what's the best way the Rangers can win? What is the way that they can get back to the playoffs? They can make a strong push for the Stanley Cup Finals again. I mean, they have to. The window, as everybody says, is closing. Now, I want to argue that a little bit with the prospects that we've seen so far. You have guys like Adam Tambellini, who scored a ridiculous amount of goals with the Calgary Hitmen last year in the minor leagues. I think he's going to be great. Bradley Shea, unfortunately, got sent down. He is right there, ready to step up for the NHL. He plays next year, in my opinion, without a doubt, unless the Rangers do something stupid like trade him away. Don't even get me started on the Anthony Duclair trade. That is just an abomination, especially if you know you have guys like Dylan Mickelrath, and you have Bradley Shea in the minor system. What are you doing trading away Anthony Duclair for a guy like Keith Yandel? If you brought in Dan Boyle, let him play the power play. Let him suffer for a little bit. Just let him do it. Or put McDonough on the power play. Do something. Oh, my goodness. It boggles my mind, that trade, and I'm not going to get too into it because I'll become too upset. So that's what I see happening on the forward, and now you have 8 defense left. 8 D-men. And obviously you got your Ryan McDonough, your Dan Girardi. You're going to be the top pair no matter what. It's just what's going to happen. Followed by Mark Stahl. He's a top 4. And then you got maybe Kevin Klein. He's probably going to play right there with Mark Stahl, or if not, Dan Boyle. And then you got Keith Yandel and maybe Klein on the bottom 6. And you got Rafi Diaz coming in and looking real good in the preseason. He's fighting for that 7th defensive spot right now. He looks really good. He just scored 2 big power play goals. He's got a cannon of a shot at this point. The slap shot that he had the other night against the Devils is very impressive. He's making a solid push for that 7th defensive role. Now you also have guys. You have Dylan McElrath, who needs a spot on the team, or he's going to go down to the AHL, but he has to clear waivers because he's got that one-way contract at this point. So what do you do with him? Has he shown enough? And the answer is no, because he hasn't been set down as of yet, but the Rangers haven't made any moves. So going into these last 2 preseason games, he's going to have to do something remarkable. He has to step up his game, and I don't understand what they're going to see in this guy. He's not capable of – he makes a lot of mistakes, especially at the blue line. He can't control the puck. It hops over his stick all the time. He doesn't really have offensive ability. nor does he have defensive ability. He's a guy that's going to hit you hard, his 6'5" enormous frame, but that's also going to give him let him get a lot of penalties. Is that something that you want to do when you're the New York Rangers? Do you want a lot of penalties on your team? The answer is no. So you stick with your top six, and maybe you let Rafi Diaz play when there's an injury, and you call Brady Shea, whenever there's an injury. I just don't see it. And what you're going to happen is if you don't play McElrath, and he sits as your 7th or 8th defensive guy, depending on the salary cap restrictions and how many players the Rangers are able to hold on to during the year, he's just going to be stunted. Not that he's going to grow anymore, potentially, but if he is, you have to let him play. And are you willing to sacrifice your NHL team for the growth of one guy? And I get it. He was a first-round defenseman in 2010. He's a first-round pick, so I know you don't want to sacrifice that. And especially as a fan, it hurts to see another first-round pick be wasted or traded away because we've had so many of that in the past few years, and we're not going to have another first-round pick for a few years, and that hurts. That means we're putting it all in the team we have now. And do you want that team that you're putting all the marbles in to have Dylan McElrath on your defensive end? The answer is no. And no fan wants to see that. He's not capable of playing. I'm sticking to that. And maybe he's impressive, and maybe Vigneault keeps him, and they trade Klein because they're still over the cap. They're still over salary cap. It's still $600,000, over the cap. So that you got to make a move at some point. It has to come before October 7th, the opener in Chicago against those Blackhawks. So that's what's going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to be in the forwards or defensively, but the Rangers have to make that move still. And it's unfortunate, but there's no room for a lot of guys this year, and you can't keep 23 guys on your roster, especially if you're over the cap. You have to send people down, and you have to make moves. You have to start trading them. Now, that being said, there's not much else the Rangers are looking to do. They have that same roster. They're going to be competitive this year. The division's going to be a lot more competitive, but they are very capable of playing. They just need to make the right moves. They need to keep the right guys. They need to give the right guys a shot. And that's what I see coming. That's what I want. They're going to be stronger down the center with Jarrett Stoll now. He's going to be that third-line center. He's going to be very, very capable of winning faceoffs. That's what he's known for, winning 60% of the faceoffs in his career so far. You give Stahlberg, you give Lindbergh shots to play. Your team's going to score more goals. They're going to be better defensively. You get rid of McElrath. You have that defense core still there, still able to play. Going to be phenomenal, especially with Rafi Diaz as your 7th guy, just in case anything happens. That team goes to the playoffs, no doubt in my mind. They've only gotten better, I think. It's addition by subtraction. You get rid of Glass, Marty St. Louis, God bless him, phenomenal player, Hall of Famer, guaranteed, but he looked terrible last year. So he's gone now. It's a better team, this New York Rangers team. I'm excited to see what happens. This has been Stephen Pierce for Circle to Circle. Thank you for listening.